Hi everyone and welcome back to LL Sports TV. Hope you're all well. Just finished watching the latest in the mental warfare battle between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. I was watching it on the Piers Morgan Uncensored show. It's now the third time that these two have clashed. They clashed previously at two press conferences held to promote their eagerly anticipated fight on April the 26th. Tonight they came head to head in the studio. Piers Morgan was the interviewer. And I've got to say that shout out to Piers Morgan. He did a really good job, an excellent job, even. Pardon the pun. So these two clashed on the Piers Morgan show. I've got to say, I thought it was very entertaining. I found it at times fascinating, intriguing. It was raw, it was emotional, sometimes deeply personal. And I thought it was really good. Obviously, the show went on for a long time, so I can't cover everything in depth. But in this video, I'll try and highlight some of the best bits of it, if you like. So as you would imagine, when these two get together, it's clear that they don't like each other. I mean, it's interesting because when this fight was first made, I spoke to quite a few people in the boxing fraternity, and they were of the opinion that this fight, the beef, was manufactured, and it was just with the aim of selling tickets. But I've got to say, man, over the weeks, it's clear to see that both guys do not like each other one little bit. There's nothing fake about this beef, man. It's real intense beef. The two of them have a real unadulterated hate towards each other, and that comes through every time you see them. So, man, that was palpable. You know what I mean? The hate is palpable. But yeah, the show kind of started with the usual, what you would expect from Q3 Eubank Jr. He never wastes an opportunity to tell Conor Benn that he's a drugs cheat, primarily because he knows it's going to get underneath Conor Benn's skin. But he does go quite deep with it. He said he's a cheat. He's got no respect for him. He said that there's no question that it was anything but deliberate. He doesn't believe a word that Conor Benn says. He's got no integrity, no respect. Conor Benn obviously responded by refuting that claim. It's interesting because he came close tonight to admitting that there were adverse substances found in his system, but then he seemed to remember that he perhaps not a good idea to talk about it too much. So then, he kind of went a little bit, how can I put it, radio silent on that issue. Certainly wasn't radio silent throughout the rest of the show. But both fighters, they also spoke not about just each other. They spoke about their upbringing, their fighting mentality, the relationship they have with their respective fathers. I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, Conor Benn, he spoke at length actually about the love he has for his dad, how close they are, how his dad is his hero, how much they enjoy being in each other's company, how much his dad has influenced him in his career as well. Whereas Chris Eubank Jr. said that he's now estranged from his dad. He revealed that. He said a lot has happened over the years. He was very close to his dad. However, a lot has gone on, including the death of his brother, obviously Chris Eubank Jr.'s son. He said that that and other things have contributed to an adverse effect on Chris Eubank Sr.'s mental health. And because of all those things, they now don't have a relationship. But he did say quite categorically that he still loves his dad, but he said he needed to step out of his dad's shadow. So that was quite sad to hear that, obviously. And speaking of the dads, there was an incident in the show when it threatened to kick off. I think it was when Chris Eubank Jr. was asked a question about the egg slapping incident at one of the previous press conferences. And Chris Eubank Jr. had said, listen, you know what I mean? He doesn't regret it. He's got no remorse for doing that. He said, look, my only regret is that I didn't have an egg in both hands. That led to them talking about an incident where Nigel Benn had apparently grabbed hold of Chris Eubank Jr.'s throat shortly after he'd egg slapped Conor Benn with the egg. And you could see that straight away. Conor Benn got visibly upset and enraged. He lunged at Eubank Jr., said, you threaten my dad, you do that again, I'll kill you. Threatened to take him outside. You know what I mean? He really did get emotional at that point, and you could see how upset he was by the whole incident. And so this is what I'm saying. When people say things that you know, it was fake and it was staged. No, there's none of that. Not in this, man. These two guys are really do have an intense hate or enmity towards each other. I mean, it's interesting that Chris Eubank Jr. wouldn't use the word hate, but he said every other word but hate. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's real between these two. It definitely is. I mean, yes, Conor Benn appears to be the more rattled. That might lead some people to conclude that he's losing the mental warfare or the mind games. But then maybe we shouldn't read too much into that. That's one of the things I kind of took out of watching the show tonight, because you can see that they're two very contrasting characters. So Conor Benn is, I guess you could call him a bit hot-headed. He's more impulsive. He has a little bit more intensity to his character. But then Chris Eubank Jr. is what I would call a bit more cold and calculating in the stuff that he does. But then that doesn't necessarily mean that come fight night, that's going to mean a whole lot. You know what I mean? But it is an interesting dichotomy of characters, you know what I mean? So that came through a lot tonight. Just seeing how the two kind of shape up against each other. It really is. And maybe that's why this fight has taken the imagination of the public so much. Because like I said, two contrasting characters, two fighters that will not back down no matter what. And it makes for an interesting spectacle. The show ended with Piers Morgan trying to get him to shake hands, which was, when you think about it, it was never really going to happen. But to my surprise, Conor Benn appeared to be up for it. He said, look, I would shake his hand. You know what I mean? I don't hate him that much. In fact, he said, listen, I want to render him unconscious, but I want to render him unconscious. Hope he wakes up and he goes back safe and sound to his family. Whereas Chris Eubank Jr. was saying, look, I'm not having none of that soppy nonsense. I'm not being fooled. He goes, listen, I'm going to go out there to do damage. I respect Conor Benn. I'm not interested in shaking hands. I'm going to do a number on him. I'm going to do a job on him. And he said, look, he's basically saying, look, I'm adopting a cold killer's mentality for this fight. And maybe one day, if Conor Benn admits that he's a drugs cheat and all the rest of it, we can shake hands. But up until then, you don't want to know. And he made that very, very clear. It was also interesting. Piers Morgan asked the both of them what would happen in the event that they lost the fight. Chris Eubank Jr. made it clear that if he lost to Conor Benn, then he would regard that as his career had come to an end and that he would retire. Whereas Conor Benn, as you might expect, actually, he said, look, I'm 28 years old. I can come again. As you would also expect, neither fighter foresaw them losing and made that clear. And yeah, it was a very interesting show. And like I said before, this fight here is shaping up to be one of those grudge matches that really does capture the imagination of not just the British public, I would imagine right around the world. I mean, it was interesting that after the two press conferences that they had, it was announced that the pre-sale ticket demand was up to 130,000. And you're talking 130,000 pre-sale ticket demand for a fight in which the capacity is 65,000. So, you know, that tells you how much this fight has caught the imagination of the public. And I was thinking, I can't recall a British grudge match in recent years that has captured the imagination of the public so much. I mean, listen, we have had some great British grudge matches over the years. A few spring to mind, and you've got the George Groves, James DeGale. They hated each other. They went at it. Carl Froch versus George Groves. Remember the old push and pull face-off that they had? That's gone down in history. 80,000 fans turned up for that one, by the way. So that was a massive event. David Haye versus Derek Chisora. Remember them two? You know, I mean, after the incident in Munich, where I think Derek Chisora got glassed, that led to a fight between them. 40-odd thousand fans attended that one. David Haye versus Tony Bellew. Remember that one? Those two, you know, I mean, there was real enmity between those two. Those two went at it, and yeah, they definitely did like each other. AJ versus Dillian Whyte. You know, that was another massive, massive fight. The two of them don't like each other. In fact, to this day, they don't like each other. But yeah, so I think we can all agree, man, that this fight is shaping up to be a real big event. And both of them, you've got to give them credit, both Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, they've sold the arse off this fight. And this fight goes without saying that the stadium will be sold out, but I think it'll do huge pay-per-view numbers, not just in this country, but around Europe, around the world. And while some people have credited Chris Eubank Jr. for doing the majority of the work in selling this fight, I think you've got to give Conor Benn credit as well, because if you think about it, it's the dichotomy of characters that makes this what it is. You've got the cold, calculating Chris Eubank with the one-liners and all that. Then you've got the Conor Benn, the hothead, you know what I mean? The young buck, angry, you know what I mean? Wants to get in your face, you know what I mean? They're the perfect dance partners for each other, man. And Conor Benn has played that villain role to perfection. But it should be said also, though, that just because Conor Benn has adopted that kind of hot-headed approach doesn't mean to say that he can't win the fight or that he's losing the mental warfare battle. It just means that he's very different. But nevertheless, that is a key component of this fight. I won't be doing a preview for this fight yet because there's still, 6 weeks to go plus. Still a lot that might happen during that time. Let's hope that both fighters stay fit and are able to fight on the night. So like I said, I won't be doing a preview, but I am interested in the meantime to see or hear what you guys think about how both guys look. Who's winning the mental warfare? Is it Chris Eubank Jr.? Is it Conor Benn? Does it even matter? Like I said, does it matter to you? I mean, like I said, once that bell goes, all of this stuff will be long forgotten until after the fight. Has the promotion engaged you in this fight? I mean, were you one of those that were very skeptical beforehand, but now you're fully bought in? Are you still not bought in? Yeah, let me know. I'll be very interested to hear what you say. But yeah, that's it for me for now. Just want to say, like I said, shout out to Piers Morgan, man. I thought he did a really good job. I thought it was a really good show. I think both fighters made their points at different times. There was a contrasting range of emotions on display. You had anger there, you had emotion, you had a bit of sadness with the story when you heard about Chris Eubank Jr. He also related the story to when he fought Nick Blackwell, and Nick Blackwell suffered a brain injury, and he spoke about how that affected him and how that affects his mentality in the ring. So yeah, it was a fascinating watch, and if you get a chance to watch it, let me know what you think. Like I said, let me know in the comments. Just want to say as well, thanks so much for watching LL Sports TV. Really do appreciate that, trying to build the channel. Really appreciate you supporting the channel. If you're new to the channel, please like, share and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Take care.